arrival, and it's really very relevant to what this whole panel is about. I mean, this is Grant Geissman, who I met. I met Grant through a friend when I was producing the LA Guitar Show in probably 1980 something.
No dates.
No dates. And when I had hair. And anyhow, Grant's band wound up playing at an evening concert, and that's how we met, and we became friends. I did some photo work for a project Grant was working on. So, Grant, everybody else kind of introduced themselves, and as if nobody knew who anybody was. So, could you please introduce yourself and say, like, a few things about what you do and what you're doing now? And
I got nothing. No, I've done a lot of session work over the years, and I'm very lucky. We're in season 8 of a TV show called 2.5 Men that I'm fortunate enough to have co-written the theme for and to co-write the music for. And just now I'm late to the panel because I did a session for that show called Mad Men, which was supposed to be in the afternoon, but they changed it to 10 a.m. So they got me in and out pretty quick, but anyway. And what else? And Lonnie takes unbelievable photographs, by the way. He also does the AMP show, but he's an incredible photographer. So
thanks.
There you go.
So how did you become to where you are now? What was the start? Like your first.
Well, years ago, I was on the road. I was still in college at Cal State Northridge, and I got a call to do some gigs with Chuck Mangione, who was a quite well-known sort of jazz flugelhorn player at the time. So I was on the road with him for 4 or 5 years, and I played on this album called Feels So Good that a lot of guys think is a great guitar solo and all this. But anyway, that was my initial thing.
That was Keith.
Thank you for that.
Were you from Rochester?
No, actually from San Jose, California. But one of his students from Rochester recommended me. And that's how you meet people, by the way, because I was still in college at Northridge, and I used to go down to the Musicians Union and play in rehearsal bands and just literally play for free and meet people. And this other guy that was one of Chuck's former students from Rochester, a trombone player named Bill Reichenbach, who's done a lot of session work. Anyway, he goes, Chuck was looking for a guitar player, and he's like, well, call this guy Grant Geissman. He sounds pretty damn good. So that's how that happened.
That's a good story.
So there it is. Anyway, I'm out of here. So that's all I got. I got nothing.
So in other words, Grant, he was scheduled to be here like everybody else, but he called me yesterday and said, hey, I'm really sorry, but I got to do this gig because that's what I do. And I go, I totally get it. He goes, I'll try and be there before, that this panel is over. And there he is. He's good to his word.
The other thing, today was a session for Mad Men. And some of the music we had recorded, 2 or 3 weeks ago, but it turned out the producer liked the way the sampled guitar sounded, which is kind of like every note is very separated, and you know what sampled guitar sounds like. So I had this sort of hellish privilege of trying to make it sound more like the sample today.
Billy, have you ever had to do that?
No, I haven't. But bass samples, they use a lot now. Bass players are lower on the totem pole, as far as the importance of a lot of synth bass, a lot of stuff like that happens. But I still get calls to do sessions a lot. I get, similar to Phil, I get stuff sent to me. We're fortunate to develop quite a marketplace in Japan, so I get Japanese pop bands that are selling. One band I did a tour with, they've sold more records than Madonna. Wow. And they're only in Japan.
Who's that?
The Beast.
Oh, yeah.
They're just so, I put in a single, I did 3 million units in a day.
Good. Really?
So, but they're unknown anywhere else, outside of Japan.
And that drummer, Gallus, what's his name?
Shane Gallus.
Yeah, he went over there.
Yeah, he's the drummer of them now. He's
Great.
Canadian,
Yeah.
great guy.
Wow.
But,
So what we never touched on, I think, how did you, I remember, hearing about you in this band called Talus, he's a lead bass player. That's kind of like why you're here, because you're not just like a laid-back bass player.
Wow.
You're
Those guys are good too.
You're like a rockin' lead bass player.
But you're like one of the first guys, right?
Oh, well.
Like nobody else was really doing
I
that.
stole it from Tim Bogert.
Yeah, but he took it to
Well,
another
that's very
level.
kind.
I'm not being kind.
But
I'm
how
saying
did
the
you
truth.
get, I want to know how, you were from Albany or?
Buffalo.
Buffalo.
Yeah.
That's
All
right
right.
there, upstate New York. I'm from the Bronx myself. where you got like signed?
Well,
talent?
Talus just fired away and hit it and hit it and hit it and played and we became the biggest band in Buffalo.
Yep.
And then we got to a point where we were opening up for the national acts when they would come in because they needed somebody to sell more tickets and everybody knew us in town. So if we played, they know they'd do better. So UFO and AC/DC were touring together. UFO couldn't get over the border. So AC/DC played alone, and then UFO played. They wanted us to open up. So I met Michael Schenker, got the gig with for his first record from that. Then we had this weird management team, a local promoter named Harvey, and his partner. They were the promoters that brought in the big bands. They brought in the Who and everything. They became our manager by default. So they showcased us down in New York City for Premier Talent, which was the big booking agent. No record deal, no nothing. And Barbara Skydell was the woman from Premier Talent. They played our tape, and she had us come down to New York City and play, and we did a show, and they dug it. Unknown to us, they sent the tape to Van Halen for opening act.
Oh, yeah.
So out of nowhere, we get a phone call. You guys are going to do 40 shows with Van Halen, 1982. Holy cow! We had no record deal, no nothing. Went out, we did 40 shows with the mighty Van Halen at their peak, and it was just awesome. And that's how I got to meet Dave. And then Dave, when he quit, he called me to do my thing.
Yeah.
But I always tried to play bass in a different way. But that's after playing a couple decades in clubs of playing copy tunes, and still one of my favorite things in the world is playing copy tunes. We just learned to play real bass first, and then later on doing as much as we could. Telus is a three-piece band. We always had to do more, so we're doing all these grandiose arrangements of songs that were done with 10-piece bands. We do a Schizoid Man by King Crimson. We do Carry On Wayward Son by Kansas. We did White Punks on Dope by the Tubes.
Yeah.
And, but we had to sing extra and play extra and do all the extra things to make up for the lack of personnel. Plus, if we got $100 for a gig, we made $33 each. If there were 4 guys, we'd only make 25 each. Do more on bass. But one funny thing about those little manager guys we had in Buffalo that hooked us up, they decided at one point to do a movie. So they hired a camera crew and writers and stuff, and they were going to do this movie, a little local Buffalo slasher movie. And so they made the movie. We had a little premiere, and it sucked, and it was horrible. But they figured out a way to take that movie and license it to other countries and make the licensing fee, and then they made their money back. Then one of them had a smart idea. Why don't we go to other countries, find movies there, bring them in, and license them to America? Good idea. And that was Harvey Weinstein. He was our manager. So for about 10 years in a row at the Academy Award, the best picture goes to, that was Harvey standing up every single time. So that was our little manager back in Buffalo.
What year was this?
This was 83, 84.
Talus Live, great album.
Right on.
Was there was a rumor that Dave actually wanted you in DeGenaro. Is that true?
At the time I denied it, but yeah, we actually, Eddie and Dave, we talked about me playing in a band. And boy, every time that phone rang, this could be it, this could be it. But it never happened, unfortunately. And I said I'd never leave Telus for any band except for Van Halen. But then when Dave called, I said, close enough. That's my story, to tell the truth.
Good. Anybody have any questions particularly? How about there's a question.
Yeah, you were talking about like you said, you get hard drives and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And different guys, able to, record stuff at a distance,
Yeah.
Is there like a particular software that you all use?
I think Pro Tools is like
Is like the standard.
it's pretty much the norm right now. I mean, there's other software that actually sounds better, but everybody's a Pro Tools wizard, or you don't hear, wow, that guy's a Cubase wizard. You don't hear that kind of thing. So it's like, I mean, I have Pro Tools in every studio I go to. Even when I record my band, I'll go into a big studio, record the drums, and take my hard drive home and do all the overdubs in my place.
Well, if nothing else, at least we deliver in Pro Tools.
Yeah.
We all have it. I hate working in it, but I deliver in it.
Yeah, totally. I mean, and it's all over the world. I do a lot of radio composing for Germany as well too, actually. And it's funny because they do just we do what I do at home, and then it goes to Germany, and they do the German vocals, or sometimes they fly German vocalists to do the singing here. It depends on the budget, but I mean, and it could be anybody. It could be a big company. It could be a small company. Someone saying, you know, a guy who doesn't even make music for a living and wants, hey, I want you to play guitar on something, and you guys work out a price, and they can send it on. You send it now. You don't even have to send you a hard drive if it's one song, and it's a session. It's a zip file. You open it up. You record guitars. You bounce it down. Send them the guitars. It's so easy. Like you don't have to travel. You're at home. I don't have an ISO booth. It's just one big soundproof room. So the Marshall is screaming on 100. I got headphones on with the click really loud. And I'm just laying there and go, hey, can we come over when you track? I'm like,
No.
Probably don't want to. The thing is, I studied, before I gutted my garage, I studied this. I went to a bunch of different studios that 400 square feet converted into a studio. If you make a control room, a sound booth, and a vocal booth, you're gonna turn into a nut after 4 hours of being in the control room, because like it's so tiny. I get claustrophobic and stuff like that. If you're in a big room, mind you, tearing your head off with headphones, you could be there all day, you know, and you can, you know, work out in between takes, you know, push-ups, chin-ups. So, but I think the thing is it's just being in your house. I mean, I used to have an apartment, and I was doing all this recording in an apartment. Obviously, you can't use amps in an apartment, so I had my little Line 6 pod, and I found a way, if you use the right guitar and you use this tone, you layer stuff, it sounds okay. And then you're in an apartment, and you expect to hear that, right? I go, what? Dude, that sounds awesome! I'm like, oh, that's all right. That's gonna be like turn that shit down. So.